I remember standing in press conferences, and even in Olympic trials in 2016, when I won Olympic trials, a lot of people don't even know that I attempted suicide that same year. And I remember crossing the line and just falling to my knees and crying, and everybody's thinking like, oh, she's crying because she just made a team and she's been working all hard. But I'm just like, no, I almost spoiled this moment. I almost let it go by because I was crying over circumstances.
Phobia, cyberbullying, failure, personal and family-related issues are some of the many issues that affects an athlete's mental health. Athletes such as Elaine Thompson-Herah, Sha'Carri Richardson, and English Gardner have openly admitted to struggling with mental health issues in the past. There are many other athletes that does in fact suffer from unstable mental health. This sometimes trickles down to their performances on the track and reduces their efficiency as an athlete. An athlete like Asafa Powell, for example, was never able to win a gold medal in an Olympic or World Championship final, despite being the favorite to do so on a few occasions. In the 2003 World Championship, the former world record holder false started and missed out on his best opportunity to win a world title. He has also failed on a few more occasions after that, despite his ability to register sub-10 clockings more often than any other athlete in the history of the sport. Asafa's seemingly flawless sprinting technique has led many to conclude that his inability to win gold at a major championship was down to his lack of mental fortitude. Oftentimes, we take for granted the state of our athletes' mental health. We revel in their success, but we never take the time out to appreciate the struggles that they go through each day to conjure up these magnificent performances. Performances that brings us such joy, such passion, and immeasurable gratification. The pleasure that we get from watching our favorite athlete win a race or score a goal is simply remarkable. Some of us get goosebumps, while others are consumed with tears of joy. Laughter, expressive chattering, unified and melodic cheers are just a few behaviors that are evoked by the exhilarating performances from these specially gifted individuals. However, as fans, we sometimes ignore the mental stability that is required to deliver these big performances. Instead, we indulge in irresponsible and destructive behaviors that most times contribute to the demise of our beloved athletes. Many of us tend to focus more on their physical attributes, and we underestimate the value of their mental state of mind. Due to their sometimes superhuman performances, we ignore the fact that they are humans like the rest of us, and may just be affected by the similar day-to-day issues that affects us in our daily lives. There are some athletes that suffer from various kinds of phobia that may sometimes impact their performances. The fear of performing in front of a huge crowd, for example. A stadium full of people, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, surrounded by cameras and journalists, perched in close proximity to conduct pre- and post-race interviews. Some may argue that a professional athlete should be trained to handle this type of pressuring situation, but put yourself in the athlete's position for a minute. Some of us get stage fright, or even endure panic attacks, whenever we are charged with the responsibility of addressing much smaller audiences. And what about the athlete who is very fearful of losing? We all understand that in a race, there will be winners and there will be losers. However, no one enters a race to lose, and so all competitors have high aspirations of winning each time they compete. Even when the odds are against an athlete, for example, going up against a Usain Bolt in his prime. All the other 7 athletes will still have a glimmer of hope, despite the glaring fact of competing with the world's fastest human. And most times, when these hopes are dashed, it comes with bitter disappointment, it comes with frustration, and it comes with anger. It is for these reasons that some athletes are very fearful of losing.
Leading up to that, dealing with my mental health, dealing with my mental as is with leading up to the games. Every time stepping on the track, definitely expected to be a record-breaking time or something like that. So just with that, pressure in itself was also just another.
Carrie, I just want people to understand where you're coming from, and tell me if this is correct. But it was a few days before your big race and the trials, you found out that your biological mother had passed away. You found out when a reporter told you, and it was after that you ingested some kind of marijuana. I should mention, you were in Oregon. It's legal in Oregon. You didn't violate any law, but it was against the rules of your sport, and as you said, you knew that. But is that what happened? Is that how this unfolded?
Honestly, yes, that is the story. I had an interview scheduled with my agent. I knew I was having an interview. I knew going into the interview, like I was just thinking it would be a normal interview, and then on the interview to hear that information come from a complete stranger, was definitely triggering. Was definitely nerve shocking because it's just like, how are you to tell me that? Like, it's like, and not, no offense against him at all. He's just doing his job, but
There is also the issue of cyberbullying. That definitely has an impact on athletes' mental health. Some of us do not hesitate to blast our athletes with destructive criticisms whenever they fail to live up to expectations, or a desirable standard. We do so recklessly, sometimes with no concern of how our words may affect the mental psyche of the athlete. There are some fans who take great pleasure in the circulation of rumors surrounding an athlete, most of which are usually negative and damaging to an athlete's ego. And yet we expect them to still go out there and perform at their next event. For most of us as individuals, the simplest of rumors, which most times do not extend beyond the boundaries of our small communities, is enough to damage our confidence, and plunge us into depression and withdrawal. But yet we show no regards for the sanctity of our athletes, who most times suffer great humiliation due to fabricated stories. Stories that are most times amplified by inconsiderate, attention-seeking, social media users. We oftentimes show blatant neglect to the emotions of our athletes, as we do not hesitate to critique every decision and action that they take. From personal to professional decisions, there are simple no restrictions. No longer are we contented with the titles of being mere fans and supporters, but we have also taken on the hats of coaches, experts, and team managers. It is worthy to note that all athletes are subjected to criticisms. However, compassion and constructive criticism would be far more ideal than irresponsible, damaging, self-profiting utterances. Some cyberbullies even go as far as to issue threats to the athletes. This is indeed very unfortunate, and something that should not be tolerated at any level of sports. Failure is another factor that we have to consider as a contributory factor to unstable mental health among athletes. For an athlete, failure may come in many different ways. It could be as small as the issue of a false start. Some athletes are devastated whenever they are put out of a race due to committing a false start. After all, it is a missed opportunity to showcase their talent, to earn an income, or representing their country or their school. Either way, a false start can be very damaging to an athlete's mental health. Failure can also be attributed to the inability to meet expectations. These may be their own personal expectations, or those of their coach, or even their family. The guilt of letting yourself down, or letting down someone who was looking to you for success, is not a pleasant feeling. There is also the backlash that may come from a failed drug test. Some athletes unknowingly consume banned substances through medications or meals. If such an athlete is tested and found guilty, that athlete is automatically perceived as a drug cheat. This is a stigma that some athletes experience great difficulty to recover from. Injuries may also lead to mental health issues. Apart from getting physical treatment, most injured athletes also need mental therapists during their time in the treatment room. Coping with a long-standing injury can be very traumatic, especially during a competition phase. As we have heard from many athletes, sometimes they have to balance their professional careers with personal family-related issues. Issues that may range from the demise of a family member, relationship issues, or even financial burdens. Not every athlete will be able to secure lucrative sponsorship deals. Therefore, some of them face immense financial stress, and their commitment to sports prevents them from taking on another job. With that said, we urge fans to be mindful of the many and varying challenges that continues to affect the mental health of our athletes. If you like this content, please press the like button so that more viewers will be able to see the video. And please subscribe to this channel for more exciting sporting news and reviews. Thanks for watching. Pleasant viewing.